I'm Jessica, 35, thriving in my marketing career and living the suburban dream with my husband, Mike. We've been married for 10 years, and though we don't have kids, we're the cool aunt and uncle to my brother-in-law Matthew's daughters, Susan and Lisa. It was a typical Friday evening when the girls came over for the weekend. Mike was firing up the grill, and I was setting the table when I noticed something seemed off with Susan. "Hey, kiddo, everything okay?" I asked, keeping my tone light. She shrugged. "Yeah, I guess," but her face told me otherwise. Later that night, after Lisa had gone to bed, Susan and I were cleaning up the kitchen. "So how's life with the new stepmom?" I asked gently. Susan's expression fell. "It's different." She hesitated, and then it all came out. "Vanessa's always on our case. Nothing we do is ever good enough. She's always criticizing us, finding reasons to punish us. Last week, she took away my phone because I got home 2 minutes late from school." My heart sank. "Have you talked to your dad about this?" Susan shook her head. "He doesn't see it. Or maybe he doesn't want to." I tried to reassure her, but inside, I was fuming. The next day, I decided to call Matthew. "Hey Matthew, do you have a minute? I'm a bit worried." Susan seemed off. "Is everything okay at home?" There was a pause. "Everything's fine, Jessica. The girls are just adjusting to having Vanessa around. It's a big change, you know." I could sense he wasn't open to discussing it further, so I dropped it, though I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. That night, I lay awake restless until Mike found me in the kitchen at 2 a.m., nursing a cup of tea. "What's on your mind, hon?" he asked, sitting beside me. I filled him in on my conversation with Susan and Matthew's dismissive response. "That doesn't sound good," he agreed. "But what can we do? They're not our kids," I sighed. "I know, but they're family. We can't just ignore this." We stayed up, brainstorming ways to help without overstepping. A few days later, I was in the middle of a conference call when my phone started buzzing. Lisa's name flashed on the screen, and a feeling of dread washed over me. "Aunt Jessica, please help us." Her voice came barely above a whisper, thick with fear. "Vanessa locked us in our room. We haven't eaten since yesterday. Dad's not answering his phone. I'm scared." My blood ran cold. "Stay calm, sweetie. We're coming." I rushed to Mike's office, heart racing. "We need to go now." The drive to Matthew's house was a blur, my mind filled with the worst possible scenarios. When we arrived, Vanessa's car was in the driveway. "Stay calm," Mike warned. "We don't want to make things worse for the girls." I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. Vanessa answered, putting on a bright fake smile. "Jessica." "Mike." What a surprise. "What brings you here?" I forced a smile. "We were in the neighborhood and thought we'd drop by to see the girls." "Oh, they're upstairs doing homework." You know how teenagers procrastinate. I clenched my fists at her casual lie. "Mind if we say hi?" Her smile faltered for a split second, but she stepped aside. "Of course. Come on up." We climbed the stairs, with Vanessa trailing close behind. When we reached the girls' room, the door was shut with a chair wedged under the handle. My stomach turned. "What's this?" I asked, pointing to the chair. Vanessa laughed nervously. "Oh, that. The girls were messing around earlier and must have forgotten to move it." I removed the chair and opened the door. Susan and Lisa were huddled together on the bed, their tear-streaked faces lighting up with relief when they saw us. "Girls, why don't we come downstairs?" "I'm sure you're hungry," I said, shooting a pointed look at Vanessa. As Lisa stood, I noticed dark bruises on her arm. My blood boiled, but I held back, knowing it wasn't the time. "Actually," I said, turning to Vanessa, "why don't the girls come stay with us for a few days? Give you a break while Matthew's away." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "That's not necessary." "Please," Susan pleaded softly, "we miss Aunt Jessica and Uncle Mike." After a tense silence, Vanessa relented. "Fine, but only until Matthew gets back." The car ride home was quiet, but once inside, the floodgates opened. Susan and Lisa poured out months of pain and fear. "She calls us worthless," Susan sobbed, "says we're the reason Dad can't be happy." Last week, Lisa added, voice shaking, she pushed me down the stairs because I forgot to take out the trash. After the girls fell asleep, I confided in Mike, "We need to document everything. Matthew has to see the truth." Over the next few days, we carefully gathered evidence. Photos of the girls' bruises, recordings of their accounts. It was heart-wrenching, but necessary. Then, the storm hit. Matthew burst through our front door, his face twisted with anger. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Jessica? Kidnapping my kids?" "Matthew, please, you need to listen," I began, trying to keep calm. "No, you listen," he shouted. "You've always been jealous of Vanessa. Now you're turning my own daughters against her." I took a deep breath. "Matthew, the girls are being abused. We have proof." "Proof? What proof?" he sneered. A few crocodile tears and made-up stories. Susan and Lisa appeared in the doorway, drawn by the shouting. "Dad, please," Susan begged. "It's all true. Vanessa is hurting us," Lisa whispered, clinging to me. But Matthew's face only darkened. "Enough," he bellowed. "Get your things. We're going home." The girls clung to me, their faces full of fear. "No, Dad," Lisa's voice shook. "We're not going back there. You ungrateful brats," he yelled, his face a deep shade of purple. "After everything I've done for you." At that moment, Mike stepped between Matthew and the girls. "I think you should leave, Matthew, now." For a tense moment, I thought Matthew might throw a punch, but instead he spat, "You'll be hearing from my lawyer," before storming out. The next morning, before I'd even had my coffee, I was on the phone with Child Protective Services, detailing everything we knew. The woman on the line listened patiently. "We'll launch an investigation immediately," she assured me, "but these things take time." Time. It was the one thing I felt we didn't have. But we had to trust the process. Weeks dragged by, but the girls began to settle into a routine with us. Still, a shadow of uncertainty hung over everything. One afternoon, I overheard Susan on the phone with a friend. "Yeah, I'm staying with my aunt and uncle for a while. It's complicated." My heart ached. These kids deserved so much better. Mike and I poured ourselves into creating a stable, comforting environment. We found a therapist who specialized in trauma, and I'll never forget Susan's words after her first session. "It's nice to talk to someone who doesn't think I'm crazy or lying." We helped them catch up on missed schoolwork, celebrating every small victory. Slowly, we saw glimpses of the vibrant girls we remembered. One day, Lisa came bouncing into the kitchen, waving a flyer. "Aunt Jessica, there's a local art class. Can I sign up?" I hugged her tight. "Of course, sweetie." While the girls were healing, things with Matthew were deteriorating. His texts grew more hostile. "You've poisoned my daughters against me. I'm getting a lawyer. You'll regret this." I tried reasoning with him, but it was like talking to a wall. That's when I decided to take things into my own hands. I contacted a private investigator. "I want you to dig into Vanessa's past," I told him. "There's got to be more to her story." 2 weeks later, he came back with a bombshell. Vanessa had a history of similar allegations in previous relationships. There was even a restraining order filed by her ex-husband's kids. "Jesus," Mike muttered as we pored over the files. How did Matthew not know about this? I shook my head, compiling everything into a dossier, but something held me back from turning it over just yet. We needed ironclad proof if we were going to make Matthew see the truth. As summer turned to fall, I watched Susan and Lisa blossom. They made new friends, rediscovered old hobbies. But every time Matthew's name flashed on my phone, I was reminded that this peace was fragile. One night, as Mike and I lay in bed, I voiced my deepest fear. What if we lose them? Mike squeezed my hand. "We won't. We'll fight with everything we've got." I nodded, praying he was right, because the thought of sending those girls back to that house was unimaginable. Months crawled by, and the official investigation seemed to go nowhere. Matthew stonewalled every attempt to cooperate, making it difficult for CPS to build a case. Meanwhile, Vanessa's life began unraveling. We heard through the grapevine that she'd been fired for embezzlement, and Matthew's friends started distancing themselves, muttering about her increasingly erratic behavior. Then came the night that changed everything. It was past midnight when our doorbell started ringing nonstop. Security footage showed Vanessa, clearly intoxicated, swaying on our porch. "Let me see my girls," she slurred, pounding on the door. Chaos erupted as she grew more belligerent, and it wasn't long before the police arrived, arresting her as she kicked and screamed. The girls huddled in the living room, both terrified and relieved. "It's over," Susan whispered. "It's finally over." With Vanessa's arrest, everything we had gathered finally came to light. Faced with undeniable evidence, Matthew crumbled. He showed up at our door a week later, looking like he aged a decade. "I'm so sorry," he choked out. "I should have listened. I should have protected them." The girls were cautious but agreed to talk. After a long, tearful conversation, Lisa spoke up. "We want to try," she said, "but we need rules. Family therapy, and if Vanessa stays gone. Forever." Matthew nodded, relief and determination in his eyes. "Anything. I'll do anything to make this right." Life gradually settled into a new normal. Susan and Lisa stayed with us, thriving in the stable environment we provided. They began having supervised visits with Matthew, slowly rebuilding trust. One evening, as Mike and I watched the girls laughing in the backyard, he turned to me. "You know, we're pretty good at this parenting thing." I smiled. "Yeah, maybe we are. Maybe we should look into fostering." Months later, I found a letter on my nightstand. Inside was a hand-drawn card from Susan and Lisa. "Dear Aunt Jessica and Uncle Mike, we don't know where we'd be without you. Thank you for fighting for us, for believing us, for loving us. You saved us in every way a person can be saved. We love you, Susan and Lisa." I hugged the card to my chest, tears flowing freely. The road had been long and hard, but seeing those girls heal and grow made every battle worth it. We had weathered the storm together and come out stronger on the other side. Now I have a question for you. If you were in Jessica's position, would you have confronted Matthew earlier about Vanessa's behavior, even without concrete evidence? Or would you have waited to gather proof, knowing the girls might suffer longer? This is a tough dilemma that many face when suspecting abuse. There's no easy answer, but your perspective could help others in similar situations. Share your thoughts in the comments below.